Since 2006, Mattel, Disney, and Pixar have been crafting one of the most comprehensive toy lines of all time, based around the Cars franchise. And in this series, I'll be breaking down every single diecast released in it. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video and to another episode of Disney Cars Diecast History. Today, we're covering Part 2 for Mater. Last time, I covered every Mater variant based on the first Cars movie, and I mentioned that there weren't all that many compared to later properties, that episode was the calm before the storm. Well guys, we've done it. We've reached the storm, because today we're going to be covering all of the post-Cars 1 Expanded Universe Maters. This episode encapsulates any Mater based on a piece of Cars media that takes place between Cars and Cars 2, including things such as the Mater Saves Christmas Cars, special edition variants of Mater based off of his Cars 1 paint jobs, and of course the Cars Toons Mater's Tall Tales, or at the very least, every Cars Toon Mater's Tall Tale that takes place between Cars and Cars 2. There are a lot of Maters to get through, and a lot of the strangest, weirdest ones we've ever gotten. Before we begin though, as always, I'd like to thank these people right here on screen for providing me with footage for Mater variants I didn't have for this episode. Some of the items in this one get pretty rare, so huge thank you to all of you guys who helped me out. And if you've never watched this series before, you may want to pause your screen right here. This is the template that I use for every single item I talk about. But with all those things out of the way, let's get started with our first post-Cars 1 Mater. In the last episode, I accidentally talked about Roland Bolin Mater, who's a Mater based on the first movie that doesn't appear in it. Thus, he should have been in this episode instead of the last one. But since I did already cover him, we're going to have to jump all the way up to 2009 for our next Expanded Universe Mater. Despite the fact that the Cars Toons began airing in October of 2008, they wouldn't be folded into the Cars Diecast line until 2010. The only Cars Toons item to be released before then was a Comic-Con exclusive 3-pack featuring Dalmatian Mia and Tia and a metallic variant of Rescue Squad Mater. All three of the items in this pack featured synthetic rubber tires, and Rescue Squad Mater had an additional feature, that being a unique extending ladder. This play feature was made exclusively for the Comic-Con release, and wouldn't be used when the regular diecast released a year later in 2010. But not only is the red on Mater metallic, his base has been made a nice chrome silver as well, which also means that some of the parts on his sides come off as silver too. Now let's move into 2010, where we'll be staying for most of this video, as this is the year that the Cars Toons diecast line came out. But before we get to those Maters, we have a few other ones we need to talk about, starting off with an Expanded Universe Mater variant in the main line. Mater with glow-in-the-dark lamp is a lenticular chase released as part of the 2010 lenticular mainline. It's one of only 3 cars ever to be based on Mater and the Ghostlight, the first ever Cars short, which features the cars of Radiator Springs getting back at Mater, who's been pranking them, by hooking a light to his tow hook that he gets convinced is the infamous Ghost Light. As a lenticular, Mater comes with 2 different eye expressions, and his glow-in-the-dark lamp is removable and is notable for being the first ever glow-in-the-dark item in the Cars diecast line. Unfortunately, this Mater has never been released with fixed eyes. If you want this, you're gonna have to settle for the lenticular. In 2009, we get our first ever Christmas Cars based on the book Mater Saves Christmas, but it would take until 2010 for Mater to get his own variant, with Wee Hoo Winter Mater. This Mater is rather tall, with his snow hat and snow tires adding quite a bit of height to him. Despite his height, this Mater has always been packed in as a single, and he, alongside Reindeer Mater, who we'll talk about later, have alternated with being each year's primary holiday Mater. Most recently, Wee Hoo Winter Mater has been a part of the Wintertime Cruisers line, released every holiday season starting in 2021. As previously stated, 2010 would see the release of the first ever diecasts based on the Cars Toons Mater's Tall Tales, where Mater would tell extravagant stories of occupations and adventures he allegedly previously had. This would massively expand the world of Mater diecasts, of which there really weren't all that many up until this point. Several Maters were released as both singles in the Cars Toon mainline and as deluxes, with many Maters being a bit larger than usual, constituting him fitting into the bigger packaging. Let's begin by talking about the Mater singles in order of the numbers they were in the mainline. Number 9 in the series brings us our first Mater single, Dr. Mater, based on Mater's Doctor persona from the end of Rescue Squad Mater. You can see on this variant his mask is down, revealing his toothy grin behind it. Number 29 in the series was Dr. Mater with mask up, who's very similar to the last Mater we looked at, except this one has his mask raised up, covering his mouth. And it also has a unique eye expression. Both of these variants have their masks as part of the metal mold. They're not movable or removable in any way. The original Cars Toons Diecast line was strangely missing a regular Tokyo Mater, but you'll still find several different variants of Mater from the short in the line. Drift Party Mater is single number 30 in the series, based on how Mater looks in the short after all of his modifications have been removed during his adventurous drift race. You could even see his rearview mirror broken and hanging down off his side. Drift Party Mater is the most common Tokyo Mater variant, being released in 2010 as a single, and again as a single in 2014's Walmart exclusive Cars Toon line. In 2023, Tokyo Mater cars would become part of the main line for the first time ever, and many fans were disappointed to see Drift Party Mater get a re-release in the line instead of regular Tokyo Mater. Number 38 in the singles line is Dr. Abschleppwagen, the only Mater variant from the short unidentified flying Mater still to this day. This is the disguise Mater puts on to try to save his new alien friend Mator from scientists in Parking Area 51. Well, you could see Mater's glowing blue flying design from the short on the packaging for this item. Unfortunately, that never received a diecast. A playset based on the short, released in 2010, would feature a plastic Mater with a blue base, a reference to his glowing blue chassis in the short. And in 2020, another Cars diecast line made by Mattel, the Mini Racers, would feature a flying Mater, with theirs glowing in the dark. Unfortunately, like I said, a regular diecast of him just doesn't exist. But back to Dr. Abschleppwagen, did you know Abschleppwagen is actually just German for tow truck? In the deluxe line, you'll see several more Maters, as many of Mater's Cars Toons looks are quite large. One of these, of course, being Rescue Squad Mater, who was number 1 in the deluxe line. Based on Mater's firefighter design from the short of the same name, Rescue Squad Mater shares his face and designs with the Comic-Con variant of him released in 2009. He, of course, is just missing the metallic paint, the rubber tires, and the extendable ladder. The ladder on this guy is completely stationary. Number 4 in the deluxe line is Cannonball Mater. Coming from the short Mater the Greater, this is what Mater the Greater looks like after a ring of fire falls down on him and he gets covered in smoke and ash. Number 6 in the line, High Dive Mater, also hails from Mater the Greater. This is the look Mater has when he decides to jump from a high dive into a teeny tiny pool of water. This is the only Mater the Greater diecast where you could fully see Mater's roof and the design on it, and it has a very nice plastic snorkel scuba accessory placed over him, which of course is not removable, it's all molded in. Number 9 in the deluxe line is El Matador, based on the short of the same name, where we learn that Mater used to be a bullfighter in Spain. Unfortunately, this diecast has become pretty infamous over the years, as it had a very limited release, never hitting the US and only hitting a few countries around the world. That, combined with the fact that this is the main Mater from an entire Cars Toon, makes this one hard-to-find item. And with the insane average price of $762, El Matador is the single most expensive Cars diecast we've featured here in diecast history so far. Not counting light-up Precision Series Mater, since he comes packed in with the whole set. Number 14 in the series, Tokyo Mater with oil stains, was for years the closest thing to a regular Tokyo Mater collectors had. It's covered in oil stains from when Lightning and Mater are slipping and sliding around in the oil, although its art actually depicts Mater after his modifications fall off. This is another incredibly desirable Cars Toon item. Even after the release of regular Tokyo Mater, this guy is still really highly wanted by a lot of fans and collectors, You're going to be hard-pressed to find him for less than $100, honestly. Did you know Mater used to be a monster truck wrestler? Well, he went under the name The Tormentor and was number 21 in the Cars Toon Deluxe line. This Mater's large monster truck body puts his axles on a very unique system that allows you to move them up and down in a unique way, allowing you to pose Mater a bit more than you could any other Cars diecast. This system would be used for all the other Cars Toon monster trucks, including our next item, Rasta Mater, based on the scene where Mater rips off the tow cable dreadlocks of fellow wrestler the Rastacarian. The dreadlocks on this guy are not removable. Since this is based on Mater when he was still starting out as a wrestler, he's not as large as the other Tormentor variant, which is accurate to the short. He also includes a slightly different design alongside his smaller wheels and tires. During one of Mater's first ever wrestling matches, he tricks a wrestler named the Ice Creamer by asking him for ice cream, disguising himself as a child by wearing a beanie hat. This Mater, Beanie Hat Mater, was released as number 27 in the line, and like many other Maters in 2010, features unique body posing to make him look a bit more accurate to the short. You can see from looking at items like this or Cannonball Mater that it doesn't take all that much for Mattel to count a Mater as a deluxe. Add just a little bit to him and, oh, he's big enough to fit as a deluxe now. Number 31 in the deluxe line is Music Video Mater, based on the brief clip of a Heavy Metal Mater music video we see at the end of the Heavy Metal Mater short. Mater includes the big helmet he wears that gets struck with electricity and gives him bat wings, and he also has those bat wings as well. They're angled in an upward position, just like how Mater looks when he starts to fly away. But in the short, when he's flying away, he no longer has the helmet. A wide variety of Cars Toon 4-packs would be released this year as well. A Rescue Squad Mater 4-pack included a unique expression variant for Rescue Squad Mater, based on how he looks when he first hears that there's a fire. This one has a very accurate eye expression, but unfortunately they didn't swap out the mouth plate with a more accurate one. You may have noticed that we haven't mentioned regular Heavy Metal Mater yet. That's because he was only released in this 4-pack alongside Heavy Metal McQueen and his guitarists Eddie and Rocky. He would be re-released in 2013, but once again only in a multi-pack. He's another exquisitely molded Mater, with his big poofy leather jacket collar around the back of him and studs molded in all over his sculpt. He even has little tattoos on his bumper there. But for whatever reason, a lot of significant McQueens and Maters from the Cars Toons were made multi-pack exclusives, which has really ended up hurting collectors in the long run, as it's made it significantly harder to get your hands on some of the most prominent characters from the Cars Toons. Just like Heavy Metal Mater, the only way to get normal Mater the Greater in 2010 would be through a 4-pack, which came alongside Lug, Nutty, and High Dive Mater. That's right, they put 2 Maters in one pack. Luckily, unlike Heavy Metal Mater, it's been a bit easier to get your hands on this Mater after his first release, with several 3-pack releases in the Walmart exclusive Cars Toons line, and even a single in the Walmart line in 2017. This single strangely changed his name from Mater the Greater to Stunt Mater, which certainly doesn't roll off the tongue as well. You may have noticed that for this release, instead of making him a deluxe like Cannonball Mater previously was, they decided to retroactively make Mater the Greater into a regular single. There were 4 Mater the Greater 4-packs released in 2010, with 3 of them including exclusive Mater variants. There was the regular Mater the Greater variant we already talked about, and then there was Rocket Mater. This, of course, is what Mater looks like towards the end of the short, when he and Lightning both have giant rockets strapped to their backs. While Lightning has the rockets on him for the entire short, and thus his regular deluxe release included them, this is the only way to get Mater with his own rockets, and it's never been re-released. And our final 4-pack exclusive from 2010 is Mater the Aviator. Not to be confused with Aviator Mater, another item that we'll take a look at a bit later. Mater is appropriately wearing an aviator cap, and this comes from a brief part of the short where we see him doing some stunts with a plane in the air. As you can see, they really went all out with Mater the Greater variants and left very few stones unturned, compared to some other shorts which are missing Mater variants. Now let's move into a few other miscellaneous 2010 Mater releases. Up first, a metallic variant of Rescue Squad Mater was packed in with the Ultimate Cars gift pack, alongside a Blu-ray of the first Cars movie and a gold variant of Cruisin' McQueen that we talked about back in episode 1. This is a metallic variant of the regular Rescue Squad Mater diecast. It uses the same metallic red color scheme and chrome base that the Comic-Con release has, but doesn't have the moving ladder or rubber tires like that does. Considering the Blu-ray packed in with this Mater doesn't even include Rescue Squad Mater on it, and is just the traditional Cars Blu-ray, it is kind of strange to see that metallic Rescue Squad Mater of all things was chosen to be one of the exclusive items for this pack. Mater once again got to be the star of Comic-Con in 2010, with metallic Tokyo Mater with flames being that year's convention exclusive item, and this is one nice looking metallic release. This was the only way in 2010 to get a Tokyo Mater that was the regular mold without oil stains, but of course this one was metallic and had flames shooting out of the back. He comes in a really unique box which lights up. Mater himself doesn't light up, just the box does. Since this is metallic Tokyo Mater with flames, you may be wondering where the non-metallic Tokyo Mater with flames diecast is. And it was supposed to be released in 2010 in the deluxe line, but it unfortunately got cancelled. While 2011's main line only saw Cars 2 diecasts being released, a few expanded universe cars still slipped through the cracks, including the first ever Disney Parks exclusive Cars diecasts. These 3 items would each be Cars characters wearing a piece of iconic Disney Parks headgear, and 2 of them would be Maters. Mater, with Goofy hat, were released in a 2-pack alongside Lightning McQueen wearing Mickey Mouse ears. While later Disney Parks exclusive diecasts were made by the Disney Parks Company, these first 3 were actually made by Mattel, and they stayed in circulation on Disney Parks store shelves until around 2017 or 2018. It seems that when Cars 3 came out, they stopped selling these. Pirate Mater, meanwhile, was released all on his own and was the only other Parks exclusive item out at the time. He's wearing a big pirate hat with a red bandana, and unlike the Mater in the 2-pack, he actually has original artwork, new hand-drawn artwork, which is pretty cool to see. And his name tag actually says Pirate Mater instead of just Mater like the Goofy hat variant said. This year would also give us a new holiday car with Reindeer Mater, based on another one of Mater's looks from Mater Saves Christmas. This is actually the design featured on the book's cover. He would first be released as a Snow Globe single in 2011, and the same year would come out in a 5-pack. He would return for 2016's holiday line, but unfortunately we haven't seen him again since. In 2012, the Take Flight collection would launch, a Cars Toons diecast line comprised of only deluxes based on 2 shorts all about flight, Air Mater and Moon Mater. This was almost definitely done as a sneaky little way to promote the upcoming Planes movie. Autonaut Mater, of course, comes from the short Moon Mater, where Mater becomes an astronaut, or an autonaut, I guess, to help save Impala 13, a poor car who's been trapped on the moon. This is another incredibly well-detailed Cars Toon Mater variant, with a great unique mold, complete with his rockets on the back, and a big clear plastic bubble covering Mater's eyes to act as his helmet. The short Air Mater was first released on the Cars 2 Blu-ray, made to promote the then-upcoming Cars spin-off film Planes. In the short, Mater goes to Prop Wash Junction, the town from the Plane series, and learns how to fly, convinced that he, a car, will be able to learn how to be a plane. This is where Aviator Mater comes from. It's Mater geared up, attempting to fly. And it's another really fun Cars Toon variant with a lot of great detail. This is by far the widest Mater ever made. It's about the length of 3 cars thanks to the big wings he strapped onto himself. He also includes another wing on his back, complete with a propeller, and a really well-detailed aviator cap. After Mater excels in his flight training, he joins a group of stunt planes called the Falcon Hawks, becoming Mater Hawk. This is one of the most unique looking Mater diecasts of all time, one that honestly barely even looks like a Mater. With a helmet, wings strapped on, a bunch of jets on the back, and his hood for good measure, Mater looks ready to take flight. Hey, I get it now. Released exclusively at Toys R Us at the same time as the Take Flight collection was the Air Mater Collector 2-pack. This pack included exclusive metallic variants of Mater Hawk and the Shorts McQueen counterpart. 2013 would see the launch of the Cars Star Wars crossover diecast line, a special line of diecasts sold exclusively at the Disney parks, combining Star Wars characters from the original trilogy with Cars characters from the first Cars movie. As previously stated, all Disney Parks exclusives from here on out would be made by the Disney Parks Company, but they are 1/55 scale and compatible with Mattel's line, so we sort of grandfather them into diecast history here. For this line, Mater got to be Darth Vader, or Darth Mater, if you will. Darth Vader's artwork features him in the interrogation chamber of the Death Star where he interrogates Leia in A New Hope, and you could even see a carified version of the interrogation droid from the movie in the background. Vader Mater, that's funny right there, would be re-released in a 2-pack in 2014 alongside Doc as Obi-Wan Kenobi. This actually wasn't the first time we saw Mater and Darth Vader cross over. The first time being a statue auctioned off at the Dream Halloween event in 2008. The light-up statue isn't a diecast and isn't part of the diecast line, but it is notable for being the first time Cars and Star Wars crossed over, and it was signed by both George Lucas and John Lasseter. You think George Lucas was confused when he was shown this? You think he was like, you want me to sign a toy car? Jar Jar's the key to all this. In 2013, the Cars Toons diecast line would return, albeit in a much smaller capacity and also exclusive to Walmart. While mainly doing re-releases of pre-existing items, they would sprinkle in a new release every once in a while, with the first one being, finally, a regular Tokyo Mater. This item was first released in the Tokyo Mater 3-pack in late summer 2013, alongside Manji and Teki. This pack would be re-released in 2014, renamed to be called Tokyo Race Party, but including the exact same items. This Mater, of course, reuses the mold of Tokyo Mater with oil stains, now lacking the oil stains, and with an exclusive expression that perfectly matches the face he makes in the short. While it wasn't part of the original Cars Toon diecast line, the popularity and desirability of Tokyo Mater cannot be understated. This is another item that it's going to be super hard to get your hands on. It's going to be pretty hard to find a listing for the 3-pack that's under $100. And while several Cars Toon Maters have been re-released since this one came out, regular Tokyo Mater is to this day the most recent new release of a Mater from Mater's Tall Tales. We haven't gotten any new ones since this pack. In 2015, we would receive Mater as Darth Vader Death Star Battle as part of the final wave of Star Wars cars. This special release would include Mater as Vader in his TIE Fighter, and by in his TIE Fighter I mean they put giant wings on his sides to transform Mater into a spaceship. Vader Mater comes with the correct curved TIE Advanced wings that Vader's ship is supposed to have, and also comes with a unique expression just for him. Also available at this time was a Death Star Battle Lightning McQueen as Luke Skywalker packed in his X-Wing, so you could have the two of them fight it out. While there are a few other Mater diecasts based on Cars Toons, those are Cars Toons that take place between Cars 2 and Cars 3, so we'll cover them at a later date. For now, we're going to have to move all the way up to 2019 to find our next Mater, with this being the only other Mater variant from Mater and the Ghostlight, Mater with cone teeth. Based on a scene at the beginning of the short where he pranks Sally, Mater with cone teeth would be released in 2019 as part of the Radiator Spring series in the main line, and he would return in 2020 and 2021. But before he made it to store shelves, he was one of the most infamous cancelled Cars diecasts of all time. He was first supposed to be released in 2010, according to the 2010 Collector Checklist book. As you can see, his original release didn't include the cone on the top of his head, it would only have the two for his teeth, which isn't accurate to the short. Infamously, Mater with cone teeth would return in 2016, where he was finally supposed to be released. But this would end up being cancelled, making Mater with cone teeth one of the only Cars diecasts to ever be cancelled twice. And then he would finally release in 2019 after 2 cancellations and 9 years of waiting. In 2020, we'd get a brand new special edition Mater as part of the Pixar Fest line. Pixar Fest Mater, alongside the other cars in this series, celebrate the Pixar Fest event that takes place at the Disney parks every few years. These were sold at Target stores in 2020, and another wave would be released in 2021 with other characters. As you can see, this Mater is based on brand new Mater, and is a nice shade of metallic blue and decked out in Pixar logos. Making special edition metallic Maters based off of brand new Mater instead of regular Mater will become a trend from here on out. It's unknown why they always choose to make brand new Mater variants metallic instead of regular Mater, but just like with the color changers last episode, my theory is that they choose brand new Mater because he's one solid color and regular Mater isn't. 2021 would see the launch of the Racing Red series, a part of the main line consisting of 6 cars coming from all 3 Cars movies, in exclusive metallic red paint jobs. While this has never been confirmed, it's assumed by fans that this series was done to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Cars series. Mater was the first release in the line. Just like Pixar Fest Mater, it's based on brand new Mater's mold. Unfortunately, this is another infamously expensive item on our list today. Racing Red Mater's case was incredibly hard to find while it first released. Despite just being a regular old singles case, it just was one of those waves that didn't really hit all that many stores. This, combined with the fact that Racing Red Mater wouldn't be re-released later on in 2021 because he's a special edition item, meant that Racing Red Mater's price would very quickly skyrocket, and nowadays, only 3 years later, you can't find him for any less than around $90 to $95, making him way more expensive than the rest of the Racing Red line, and making it pretty hard for some collectors to complete their set of Racing Red cars. 2023 would bring us the last Mater for this video. Another special edition metallic Mater, this time part of the Disney 100 line. To celebrate Disney's 100-year anniversary, a set of 6 cars were made for the 2023 main line, all with beautiful platinum silver paint jobs. These cars look like silver statues, they're all super cool. And each item in this line was given a splash of color on them to reference the character's typical color. In the case of Mater, he uses the brand new Mater mold, and the splash of color on him is a blue hood, matching the typical tealish blue color that brand new Mater was. This Mater was sold both as a single and in a 5-pack with 4 other cars from the line. And there you have it, guys. Every Mater diecast based on a piece of media from between Cars and Cars 2. There was a whole lot here today. Absolute ton of Cars Tunes items, as well as a few others, but the Mater train is not slowing down anytime soon, as next time we have another massive list of Maters to get through, as we're going to be tackling arguably Mater's biggest role in the Cars franchise, Cars 2. There's going to be a lot to get through, so tune in next week for the next edition of Diecast History. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.